Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling. And man, I really appreciate everybody checking out the video, even the 60% of the people that watch this video and have not hit that subscribe button yet. But anyway, everybody's welcome here. And today we're going to be talking about what I consider the #1 lure to fish in the month of May. And I'm going to give you guys a bunch of juice on it, tips and advice on how and when and why to fish it under certain conditions. And I think it's going to add up to some really quality fish for you guys. And also, guys, I'd just like to invite everybody to, if you haven't checked out my second YouTube channel, I got that channel I started a few months ago called The Fishing Teacher with Randy Blockett. It's geared to sort of the people just sort of starting out fishing that don't know a lot about fishing or a lot about bass fishing, but want to learn more. And I'll include the Fishing Teacher link in the description if you want to check that out. Okay, guys, what I'm talking about is not, it's not some secret lure. It's a well-known lure. But I think one of the aspects about it is there's a lot of subtleties and nuances to this lure that go well beyond what the basic understanding most people have on it. And that is the large size square bill crankbait. This is the Megabass 2.0. This is the largest one Megabass makes. And by the way, guys, if you guys are interested in these, I'll put the Baitworks link in the description. If you guys want to use that link, it's a good way to help the channel out. You can get you not only the S-cranks, but any square bill they have there. They got tons of them, so I'll put that in the description here. But anyway, what we're going to talk specifically about is this large size square bill in the month of May and why it works so good and how do you want to fish it and everything. Now, first of all, I think one of the things that you have to understand as far as square bill fishing is so much of it is centered around water clarity. To me, square bill fishing, you have to have a certain range of clarity in order for this bait to work. And the good thing about a square bill is in most lakes and rivers across the country, with the exception of maybe some, really clear water lakes that are clear from one end to the other, almost every body of water has the water visibility suitable for a big square bill in the month of May. So what you need to have water visibility somewhere that is less than 3 foot clarity. Now, this is pretty good because most lakes across the country, they have a lot of that 2 to 3 foot clarity in some part of the lake. Now, that lake, that could be anywhere on the lake. It could be in the extremities of the rivers and the creeks. A lot of different types of areas have that, but this is the first thing you need to remember is stay in those areas that has less than 3 foot of visibility. Ideally, for the way that I like to fish a square bill in May, what I'm going to talk about here, I like sort of that 2 foot range. Anywhere between 15 inches to 2 foot of clarity works really good for me. So the thing you have to remember about this is a post-spawn lure. This bait, the reason it's so good in May, and the reason the larger size is good in May, is that after those fish come off the beds, and I'm not talking about like right off the beds, because in the month of May, every fish in the country is in the post-spawn phase of their annual cycle. Some of them are sooner than others. If you have bodies of water in the far south part of the country, those fish could have been done spawning a couple months. Some of the places are maybe still on the beds, but for the most part, there's a percentage of those fish that are in that post-spawn deal. And the reason that the big square bill works so good in the month of May, it's a combination of the water temperature, the phase the fish are in, and that water clarity all together. When those fish come off the bed and they get into their post-spawn routine, and their post-spawn routine is anywhere between garden fry to feeding up before moving out into a little bit deeper water, they are actively feeding. And I've always talked about it, if you guys watch the channel, how effective that a slow lure is in the month of April. Like, jigs and shaky heads, wacky rigs, wobble heads, that type of stuff are really good in April. But when you get into May and the personality and the mood of those fish start to shift a little bit to their post-spawn moods, this is when you can't beat the big square bill. And there's a lot of different sizes of square bills. Most people throw that 1.5 inch size, but the bigger square bills, like your 3 inch long square bills, like the S-crank here or some of the bigger ones out there, this is what those fish want because they're hungry. The bigger females are wanting to feed up and they start to go for larger baits. That's why in the month of May, this is the transition into the bigger bait from the month of April. That's why your big topwaters, your swim baits, all big swim baits, that type of stuff, big spinner baits, big buzzers, full-size swim jigs, and the big square bill crankbaits start to work because the fish want a big meal at that time of year. So anyway, what you're looking for this in here is, let's talk a little bit about the area, and then we're going to talk about a little bit the technique on how to fish it exactly. Is you can catch fish on a square bill in May on a variety of different covers. It really depends on the cover in your particular lake. If you got, my favorite is rocks. If you got any type of rocky banks, I don't care if it's riprap or, baseball size rock, or, just, rock that big, or bluffs or whatever, that's the first thing I go to, because I have found that this is one of the first places that the post-spawn bass gravitate to, is that rock. And if I have a combination of, say, water visibility around 2 feet and rock, specifically rock that is in some areas adjacent to a spawning area, this is money with a square bill crankbait. And what I do is I want to get on those rocky banks, and I'm making 45-degree angle casts down the bank, trying to target that 1 to 4 foot of water. Now, the angle that I'm at on the bank depends upon the slope of the bank. So sometimes I may be parallel to the bank if it's a sharp drop, and if it's a flatter bank, sometimes I'm 20 foot off the bank. But I want to be able to be knocking the bottom on this thing into that 1 to 4 foot zone. Now, most square bills, 4 foot is about their maximum. If you put a square bill like the S-Crank 2.0, like on 12-pound test line, you can hit 4 foot, the 4 foot zone with it. But that's going to be the key depth on this particular bait. Now, another key area I like to fish them in is around any type of laydown wood. If I have laydown wood in those same type of areas, adjacent to spawning areas, has the white water clarity and everything, this is one of the best times of the year to pitch and flip this thing just like you would a jig. What I'll do is I'll just make pitches and flips, in and around like a laydown tree, and just sort of crawl it through those limbs. And a square bill crankbait, the good thing about it, the whole point about it, it's almost like a 4-wheel drive crankbait, because the square lip, it deflects off cover. It's like when you're bouncing it off the cover like that, it doesn't keep digging. It'll deflect off the side and come back, and that's the design of the lip. It's designed to do that. So make sure that if you're around any type of thicker cover, like laydowns or docks or anything like that, that you get right into the heart of that. And also, the third area is around any type of submergent grass. So if you're fishing Florida lakes, or TVA lakes, or Texas lakes or something that has some type of a milfoil hydrilla growth, and you have that type of water clarity, fishing a square bill over that is going to be really good. So let's get into the real key of it now. Now, the key on this thing, and the reason people have kept this a secret for years. I mean, a lot of us that have been fishing square bills for 40 years never talked about this much, but it's well known now, is the number one thing that's going to give you success on the square bill and the post spawn is your speed of retrieve. Not only your speed of retrieve, but the cadence of your retrieve. So what I like to do is I'll make that cast out there, and I start burning it. I'm burning it like this, and then I'll stop it and maybe give it a half crank and start burning it again. And you want to keep that bait moving fast through the water and erratic. You don't ever want to reel it where it goes over 4 or 5 feet without a hesitation. So I'm throwing it out there, and I'm always doing like this. I'm just constantly, stop and go, but I'm burning it. So this thing is like reacting. It's just going through the water like that. And when it's deflecting off rock and deflecting off wood, and you're burning it, and you have water temperatures that are in the 60s or 70s, and you've got water visibility of less than 3 feet, those big fish, it will get these big fish to react to it. And here is my favorite color, guys. This black and chartreuse, the blackback chartreuse side, this has been a staple since the 1970s. This is the number one color in the month of May, because anytime that you have a chartreuse side on a square bill, it resembles a perch. And starting in the month of May, the bluegills are getting real close to spawn, and the fish really like to feed on any type of perch, sunfish, pumpkin seeds, bluegill, black perch, whatever. And this is what that thing will resemble. So this is my number one color. And also, guys, on a black and chartreuse, it will get you the biggest bite. I don't care, you know, you can throw any other color out there, red, shad, translucent, perch patterns, whatever, even though this is a perch pattern, but this bright chartreuse will generate the strike from a bigger bass. And most of the time on my line, I'm throwing it on anywhere between 12 to 20 pound test, Seaguar and Vizex line. I normally put it on that Mega Bass Orochi 110 special rod. It's got like sort of a medium tip on it, and just go out and just cover water with it. So anyway, guys, we're coming up in May. I can promise you I'll have this thing tied on. We got our first tournament. We got our next tournament coming up at Table Rock Lake in there. Depends on what part of the lake I'm fishing, but I may be fishing there. But any time that I'm fishing in the month of May, I got at least one or two of these tied on. So hope it helps you guys catch some good ones. Talk later.